Like, what do you actually see?
The world on fire.
That's cool, Matthew, but what does the actual fire look like to you? Anyway, we are more interested in successful people who actually exist. How do they see the world? Let's take this guy as an example. This is Robert Aumann. You may not recognize him, but he received the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2005. Let's listen to him for a bit to figure out how he sees the world. And don't worry if you don't know what game theory is.
We didn't have a lot of money in the family. Once in a while there was a piece of cake available or a piece of candy or chocolate or something like that for the two children. And my mother would divide it into two parts and give my brother one part and me. He's 4 years older than me. Good. Well, it sounds good, but it's not good because invariably there was dissatisfaction, crying. One of the children would say, "It's unfair. I got the smaller piece. My brother got the larger piece. It's not fair." So my mother got tired of this, okay? And what she did was something very smart. She would give the piece to one of us, the whole piece of chocolate. And she says, "Yisrael, you divide it into two parts, okay? But then let Moshe take one of the parts, choose one of the parts." So that was the end of the crying. Why was it the end of the crying? It was the end of the crying because suddenly Moshe could not complain because he chose. But I could not complain either because if I said Moshe took the larger part, my mother would say, "Why didn't you divide equally?" So the crying stopped. So my mother was a game theorist. What was she doing? She was promoting her interests, which was to have the kids satisfied and happy, and she was using our incentives. She was using the fact that we promote our interests to get done what she wanted done. Yeah. So she was taking advantage of our incentives, of the fact that we are promoting our interests, and that's what all of game theory does. Okay. Practical example.
The point to take away from this is that basically every time he talks or reads or thinks about people, companies, or countries interacting, he has incentives of each party at the back of his mind to help him understand what is going on and what may happen next. This explanation of his thought process about how all those relationships work in the real world is what we will call a mental model. Remember that time you made your first paper plane? It was a model. A model allows you to simplify something really complicated, in this case an actual flying machine, so that you could basically simulate what it is doing and play with it. And if you listen carefully, you will notice that smart people play with models a lot. They even collect them, but not the physical models, mental models. The best mental models they can get in their key area of interest. Let's listen to a few more examples. Here, Serena Williams talks about the way she thinks about learning backhand.
The main, most important thing about a good backhand is your left hand. So what I do is I play lefty. If you watch the greatest people who have the greatest backhands, they have a great left-hand stroke. You can see that their arm, left hand, really goes through it, almost like a regular forehand. So then eventually I just add my second hand, and then it becomes a really simple stroke. So be sure to practice your left hand if you want a good backhand.
Let's see if you can spot a mental model for thinking about comedy in this clip with Ricky Gervais.
As a British art form, comedy was always, you were always the court jester. You had to, you had a lower status, and you made fun of the king, and you were with the audience. Now, well, people in our position, we haven't got that lower status, so we have to create it. I do it in a couple of ways. I invite them in. I say, what, you think it's all fun being invited to Buckingham Palace? Well, look what happened to me. Or the first time I took a private jet, they thought I was the cook. This is all true.
Right.
So I'm saying it's not what you think it is, right? So I do that, right? But the other way I do it is I talk about things that they're better off than me. I always talk about I'm falling apart, I'm getting fat, I'm getting old, I'm scared of this, I'm scared of that, I'm a schmuck, I can't bend down without my internal organs going into my throat, I'm going to die soon.
Lastly, this is how Jack Ma explains his thinking about building a business.
I know nothing about technology. I know nothing about management. I know nothing about, but the only thing is that you don't have to know a lot of things. You have to find the people who are smarter than you are. My first way is always find people who knowledge on computer smarter than I am. Accounting, smarter than. For so many years, I always try to find the people smarter than I am.
So there you have it. 3 extremely successful people in 3 totally different disciplines. 3 different mental models. Once you learn to notice these models, you will see them everywhere. What are they good for? Basically, you can have 2 people looking at the same thing and see it differently. Chances are, the person with better mental models in their toolbox will make better decisions, take better actions than us. Think about it this way. If Warren Buffett and I both read the same financial statement of the same company, who do you think is going to have a better view of its financial situation? Finally, please remember 2 things. Firstly, these models are only models. They simulate the reality and are not always necessarily true. But on this channel, we're going to try and identify as many useful models as we can, hoping that if used correctly, they can help us become a little bit wiser, a little bit more successful in life. Secondly, when watching these videos, always remember this quote. Absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is essentially your own.